This is a opening range system here. So let me get the indicator up. And the indicator that we're using is from Anna, or in other words, Lizard Trader. So the Anna indicators are coming from Lizard Trader now. So you can also find them up on Big Mics as well. Most of Anna's indicators are up on Big Mic. So that's where the Anna indicators were originally all posted. But recently, Anna's opened up his own website, Lizard Trader, and they're one of our partners here. And I'll show you where to get this, where you can download this open range in here in just a moment. Let me get it on my chart first. There are a few settings I discovered I needed to change. All right, so let's see. This is a 2-minute open range. So Mike's using a 2-minute open range here. So our open range period, I'm going to set that down to 2 minutes. And so for my time zone, I need a 9.5 hour offset for my time zone. So to get the exact settings here, I just had to play around with them. Otherwise, if you want more information on this indicator, contact Lizard Trader. Since this is their indicator, they're the ones who would be able to properly teach you how this thing works, or to explain its operation to you. So let me get this on the chart. Let's see. All right. Okay, there we go. Hold on a second. I'm just going to double check this. Okay, yeah, that looks correct. So, dealing with the opening range of the first 2 minutes right there. And I'm just going to make one more subtle change here. There we go. Okay. Just wanted to turn off the red lines inside there, because I don't know what that is, but deals with something. So, all right. So I had to make a couple of adjustments here. So I had to select RTH session. I set it to first. Show regular open as, I set to regular open. And then you're going to have to figure out what your offset is based on your time zone. But also based on the session that your chart is set to. And then the opening period is a 2-minute opening period. So, all right, so there we go. There is our opening range being plotted there for us. All right, so we got the chart set up. Let's see. Okay, next, let me show you where to get this indicator. And here we go. So I already have Lizard Trader open. And let's see here. Let's go to their home page again. Oh, all right. I'm logged in here, so it looks a little differently. Yeah, that's right. Let me log out. Okay. Yeah, so when you're logged out, there we go. We have this download section here. When you're logged out, so we want to go to downloads. Free indicators. So go into the free indicator section there. And let's see, Ninja 7. All right, so you can see right here it says range analysis. All right, this first section here says range analysis, so we can just click on the image, and that brings us into some of their range type indicators. And here we go, the second one down is our opening range. See, there's our opening range. So, if you click on free downloads, at that point, let's see, at this point it's going to ask you to log in there. All right. So, it's just, yeah, so you will need to create an account so you can log in and download that indicator there. So, all right. otherwise, you should be able to also find this indicator on Big Mike's as well. So you could just log into Big Mike's if that would be easier for you. All right, so again, there we go. So that's the indicator we're interested in, the opening range. And let's see, the exact indicator name, let's pull that up again. So it is called Opening Range version 42 multi-time frame, MTF. So that's the indicator we're using. All right, so now that we got the chart set up, let's start working on setting up Blackbird here as much as we can. So we won't be able to do everything today, right? Because some of this requires BloodHound. All right, so we're entering with a market order. So, all right, pretty simple start there. So let's get Blackbird started today. Hold on. Before I forget, I'm going to change my data feed so I don't get accidentally disconnected. All right, so I'm going to switch over to simulated data feed. All right, let's get Blackbird started. There we go. We have one. So I've got one on the chart already from last week. So I'm just going to turn it on. All right, we're almost there. I'll stretch my chart out just a little bit to kind of separate all these chart panels here. So we need to go into the order settings. So this is basically the kind of the heart and brains of Blackbird. All right, so here is the settings window. So let's start setting up our orders here. So we're entering with a market order. Simple enough. Done. That's all there is to do for a market order. All right, so now we can get into the targets here. All right, so the first target is going to be a 10 tick target. And it sounds like Mike will sometimes adjust that to 7 ticks. But you know, that would be a manual adjustment there. So let's set this up for 10 ticks. There we go. So we got 10 ticks already as a default there. Easy enough. So if you know, if you wanted to adjust it down so that it starts at 7 ticks, easy enough. We can just go in here into the order, and right there for the initial placement, right, it says 10 ticks. We'll just click in there and it opens up the next panel, and we can just adjust this down to 7 ticks just like that, so if we wanted to. But I'll put this back at 10 ticks. We'll leave that as is. And next, all right, so we do have a rule here that would you know, prevent the trade here. Let's put a little emphasis on this. All right, so if the stop ends up, if the stop, I should say stop, that should be a stop loss. All right, make sure you guys, it's good to get terminology correct so that we're not misunderstanding the difference between an entry order and an exit order. Right. So a stop could refer to an entry order, whereas a stop loss only refers to a stop loss. Basically, a stop loss is when you're already in the trade and you want to cut your losses. All right. So a stop loss could be an order before you're in the trade, right? But a stop loss means you already have a position open. So it's good to get your terminology right. Just, you know, helps others understand. All Let's see here. Let me do one more. There. All right. So our stop loss it's placed at the open range boundaries here. So if you're going long, we want to place the stop loss at the open range low plus a tick. And if we're in a short trade, then we're going to place the stop loss at the open range high. All right, so we can visualize that on the chart here. So to give us a little visual, right, if we're in a long trade, let's say we're in a long trade here, then we want to place our stop loss down here at the bottom of the range. And if we're in a short trade, then we're going to place our stop loss at the top of the range there. Right? Opposite ends. So all right, so let's set that up. So we're going to use an indicator to set that up. So I'm going to use the parabolic SAR. Parabolic SAR is a standard indicator. So I'm going to use that just to start my stop loss with, just to have something in place. So there we go. So let's open up our stop loss, and we're going to change the initial placement. We're going to change it from the parabolic SAR, and we're going to change it to our open range indicator. So let's go find the ANA open range. There it is. Put it in there. And then the next step is to get all of our settings set up the same way as we have on the chart. So, all right, select RTH, set that to first. Show regular open, set it to regular open. And let's see, yeah, my offset is 9 hours, 30 minutes. And the opening period is a 2-minute period. And I believe that's all I needed to change. I think that would, yeah. So, all right, so yeah, it's critical to make sure you get all your parameters set up correctly for Blackbird. Now we can go down here and select the correct plots. All right, so for a long trade, we want to set our stop loss at the low of the range. All right, and for a short trade, we want to set our stop loss at the high of the range. So, all right, and let's see here. Oh, nice. All right. I just noticed something. There is a mid-range. There is an open range midpoint there. Ah, okay. So just a moment. That kind of changes things here. I didn't think though. I didn't see when I was looking at this that the open range had a midpoint. So that kind of changes some of the rules here that Mike had written in. All right, and then the next thing was we want to add a tick to everything. So what I did is I selected the sync button. So you see how it's grayed out now, so that the long and short ticks are not synced, because we're using, for a long trade we want +1 tick. For a short trade, we want +1 tick. So what I had to do there is turn off the sync button, so that way I can change my shorts to also add a tick as well. So there we go. So I got a +1 tick for long and +1 tick for short. All right, that sets that up. So yeah, I think now would be a good time for me to save this. All right, let's see, open range with target of 10 ticks, and let's see, a stop at the open range. And let's see, I'm going to put one more designation in here. So the entry order is a market and a runner. All right, save that. And let's see, okay, so let's get back to our second order. So the second order set is going to be a runner. So what I'm going to do is go over here and create a second order set. Just like that. All right, so the entry is going to be the same. The entry is going to be a market entry. The stop losses are the same. But order B is going to be a runner, so I'm just going to remove the target. So there we go. Target's gone. So now it's just a runner with a trailing stop loss there. Well, actually, we don't have any trailing going on here, but that still makes order set B the runner there. So let me save this again. Now let's get into some of the trade size management here, and we'll figure out what can and can't be done with BloodHound. So Mike would like the number of contracts to be auto-sized using the money management rules, and and dependent on the size of the contract. So for this example, we want to risk 1% capital on a $50,000 account. So in other words, a $500 risk on that. So to set that up, we need to go into money management here. And so first thing we'll need to do is set up our account size. So there we go, we have 50,000 in there. And we need to turn on risk per trade. And we're going to set that down to 1%, like so. So we're risking 1% there. And let's see, so here we have a couple of examples of how Mike would like the contracts to be distributed. So now Blackbird distributes the number of contracts based on cash value, and it will adjust the number of contracts between the order sets so that it gets as close to our $500 risk as possible. Right. So so we've got two order sets here. So so Mike would like the number of contracts for order set A and order set B to be adjusted according to this little chart here. And there we go. Let me just kind of line these up. All right, so if the number of contracts is 3, then we'd like 2 contracts to be our order set A, our first order set, and then 1 contract for the runner. If we have 4 contracts, then we'd like to split them up evenly. 2 at the first order set, and then 2 for the runner. Right, and so if we have 5 contracts, then we'd like 3 set up at 3 for the profit target, and then 2 for the runner. So let's see. So basically, what it looks like is we want an emphasis on the profit target order set. So let's see what we can do here. Let's see. All right, so right now, order set A, I have it set to 1 contract. Order set B, I have it set to one contract. So Blackbird's going to be scaling those number of contracts up. Basically, it's going to be scaling those number of contracts up. So what we're going to do is go into allow upscaling and adjust this. So right now we can see the default setting is on flexible. So we want to leave it on flexible. So what that means, flexible versus rigid. So you can see that we have the option rigid over here. So rigid means that Blackbird will try to adjust order set A. It'll try to adjust the number of contracts for order set A last or least. All right. So, but we want order set A to easily be increased. All right, because we want to put more of the contracts in order set A. So, so I'm going to leave this on flexible here. And then let's go into order set B, and we want to set this to balanced. We'll set that to balanced. And we'll test this out. So we'll have to do a little bit of testing on this, see how it goes. So the testing this is going to be the interesting part. Oh, yeah. All right. Remember, I'm using simulated data here, so I can force the market up. And what I'm going to use is I'm going to use the dynamic planning here to help me simulate what the number of contracts will be. All right, so I just need to get price up here a little closer. There we go. I think that should work. All right, so let's plan a short and let's see what we get here. All right, so we got 2 contracts on our profit target, and we have 1, and so the 3rd contract is going to be that runner. Right, so we can see here if we look at the flag, and let me turn track pricing off. So if we look at the flag, let's see, we have one contract for order set B. And of course the other 2 contracts is going to be for order set A. So therefore we have a total of 3 contracts there. Yeah. So far that's looking good. So let's readjust this and let's see. All right, so we got a total of 5 contracts now, and it looks like they're all going in order set A. So, all right, that's not quite what we want. So let's go back into our order settings and see what we can do. So I'm going to go into order set A. I'm going to set it to balanced as well. So order set A, allow upscaling. I set it to balanced here. And then order set B is already set to balance. So let's see what that does for us. And also, oh, you know what? My chart is oil. So that could be skewing things. Yeah, shoot. Okay, that could be really skewing things. So let me switch the chart over to the ES. And yeah, I think I can just switch the chart over safely. And yeah, insufficient historical data. Okay, so let me get some data loaded on my chart here. So I'll need to turn off the simulated data, connect to my data feed. Let's populate that chart with some data. There we go. Now I can disconnect and connect back up to my simulated data feed. And let's see. So looks like our open range indicator is saying that there's not enough data. Let's see, 5 days. Should be enough data. All right, just a moment here while I get this data issue resolved. There we go. Okay, so I just had to force a reload of my historical data there. Okay. All right, there's our opening range, and all right, I need to get the market back up there. All right, so while we're getting the market data up, I can go back in here and just get Blackbird up and running again. All right, and we have designed Blackbird in a way so that it remembers all of your settings, so you don't have to reload all that stuff. A nice time-saving convenience there. All right, so everything looks good. Let me just kind of double check what my trade fit is set to, and then yeah, that's still set to balanced, and make sure A is set to balanced still. It is. Okay, great. And all right, there we go. So we've got the market up there, just shot right up. So let's go back into our dynamic planner and start doing some more testing here. So let me test a short trade, and I'm going to separate these stop losses here. All right, so now, interesting, it's looking like almost the contracts are going into B, yeah, into the runner. It looks like most of the contracts are going into the runner now. It's not what I was hoping for. Well, all right, so let me go into the settings and see what we can do to try and get an emphasis on putting the extra contract on order A. Yeah, on order set A is where we want that extra contract, right? So whenever there's an odd number of contracts, we want the extra contract to go to our profit target there. All right, so if we got 5 contracts, if Blackbird calculates 5 contracts can be traded, to meet our, maximum risk there, then we want that odd contract to go into our profit target. So Well, I don't think this is going to do anything, but I'm going to set both order set A and order set B. I'm going to set them to rigid. You never know. So, all right, so let's test this out. Yeah, it's still not doing it. It's putting our extra contract into the runner. We actually want the opposite. Well, okay, I'm going to try the opposite here. Let's try that. I've set both of them to flexible. Let's go back into the dynamic planner. So hopefully you guys can see I'm switching back and forth between the settings panel and the dynamic planner panel here. Settings, dynamic planner. So the dynamic planner, I'm using this because it allows me to simulate and see on the chart, you know, but through the flags, like how many contracts are being placed. And still, yeah, it looks like B is getting the majority of contracts. You know, Well, Again, Blackbird's auto scaling here. Again, what it's trying to do is it's trying to reach this maximum risk that's been specified here, right? So if we set up our money management to risk 1% of a $50,000 account, so that sets a maximum risk of $500. So Blackbird's trying to match that $500 as closely as possible, and so that's what the algorithm's trying to do. So, so in reading this type of question earlier, yeah, Jeremy and I have kind of talked about this. So, and we will be adding other ways to look at how the number of contracts would be distributed versus just trying to maximize your risk here. Yeah, well, so we're going to try and come up with some other ways that the number of contracts can be distributed when you have multiple order sets, right? So, for example, you know, let's say you've got 3 order sets here, you know, and so we're going to try and provide some other options as to how you can control which order set, you know, has its number of contracts scaled. You know, so like, for example, if you want an emphasis on order set B to have the more contracts, you know, we're going to try and work out a way, you know, that Blackbird's scaling algorithm, you know, you can adjust that easily so that you put an emphasis on B, or you could put an emphasis on A, right? So, so this trade fit kind of gets us there, but it's, you know, it's not quite allowing, you know, well, this trade fit currently right now is working on just on a cash basis, right? It's looking at the cash and trying to maximize the cash at risk, right? So instead of looking at the number of contracts, so you know, I know that for simplicity, I think most traders look at just purely the number of contracts that they're scaling up or down. Just because it's a lot simpler for us to do that kind of math in our head than it is to try and calculate. Well, how much cash do I really have at risk? So most traders just kind of look at order set A and B and C and just distribute things evenly, or they do some kind of a ratio. Like they'll put the majority down at A, and then B will get the second most, and then C would get the least number of contracts. Usually, all right, so traders look at this very simplistically and don't actually calculate the actual cash at risk. Whereas that's what BloodHound's doing, is it's looking at the cash at risk and then upscaling or downscaling the number of contracts based on that. So I guess bottom line is we will be adding more options to to change to adjust the upscaling and downscaling when you're using multiple order sets like this. So, but let's see, for now, let's see, that's set to balanced. Oh, wait a minute, yeah. Oh, okay. You know what? I made a mistake. Let me back up. Let me put this back to... I thought I had both of those set to flexible there. So let's save that. And let me test the dynamic planning again here. Oh, I need to... All right, let's pull the market back up to the range. All right, so with order set A and B set to flexible in the trade fit, maybe that will get us what we want. All right, just need to get the market closer to our opening range there. All right, that should do it. And now it still looks like it's putting an emphasis on the runner. Yeah, it's still putting an emphasis on the runner. Actually, just to be technically correct, I'm going to turn off the allow downscaling, right? Because we have the number of contracts set to 1 and 1, so really downscaling won't happen. So I'll just turn it off, just in case. And all right, so what I set my trade fit now to both the balanced. So A is set to balanced, yeah, and B is set to balanced. Okay, save that. All right, now let me take a look. All right, well, let me, actually, yeah, hold on. I'm going to try something here. So I'm going to set this to 3 and 2 and see if that helps. Oh, hold on. If I'm going to set that to 3 and 2, then I need to do one more thing. I need to turn on my downscaling. And let's see, I'm going to set that to balanced. Let's go over to order set B, turn on the downscaling. Set that to balanced as well. All right, let's give that a shot. Ah, there we go. So we've got, all right, floating between 5 Well, actually, just a sec. Let me pull the market down here a little bit, down to the bottom of the range. And let's see. All right, so we have 4 contracts total. It's still doing 3, and so now it's just adjusting B, and it's leaving A where it's at. All right, let me take another look at this. All right, so I'm trying to get the number of contracts down to 4 to see if we get a nice even split. And no, we're not. Yeah, order set A is staying at 3 contracts. Yeah, well, shoot. So we're not getting the exact. We're not getting the exact splitting of the number of contracts that's desired here. So hopefully, with our next update, well, not update, but I should say with our next improvement to the upscaling and downscaling, factoring, that should give us the ability to kind of control the scaling of the contracts just purely on numbers, the number of contracts, versus what Blackbird's doing right now is just trying to maximize. It's just trying to do a best fit and get as close to a $500 risk as possible. So, yeah. All right. Well, so let's continue on here instead of getting stuck on this. Let's move on and let's see, accomplish some of the other requirements here. So let's go back to this requirement of the stop loss. Right. So if the stop loss is greater than 16 ticks, then we want no trade. No trade. So let's go in here and we have this placement safeguards. So we can set a maximum stop loss in ticks. So let's increase to 16. So let's see. Yeah. So actually we're going to set our max stop loss to 17 ticks. Right. So actually, I guess I'm going to take it that 16 ticks is allowed. Right? 16 ticks is okay, but 17 ticks would be too much. So I'm going to set this to 17 ticks. And if you look at the mode, it says skip trade if not met. So there's 2 modes here. We can either constrain the profit target and stop loss. So in other words, we can constrain the stop loss so it has a maximum of 17 ticks. Well, or we could skip the trade here. Actually, sorry, I think we do need to set that down to 16. So yeah, maximum was 16 there. So we can either constrain it, and the stop losses would be no more than 16 ticks, or we could just say skip the trade. So right? So if the stop loss is placed greater than 16 ticks away, we just skip the trade. And remember, our stop loss is going to match an indicator setting, right? So we have no way of knowing what that stop loss distance is going to be because it's controlled by our indicator. So therefore, we can put some constraints in there. So if one morning that opening range is like 20 ticks, well, we want to skip that trade. So yeah, we want to skip that trade there. So I'm going to do the same thing for B. We're going to skip the trade if it's more than 16 ticks. Right, so our mode is set to skip trade here. All right, so let's save that. Okay. So, and let's see, what else can we do here? Let me close this out for a sec. Let's go back to the rules. Oh, that's right. And we do have a trailing stop loss here. And he wants it to match the no gap 10 EMA on a 5-minute chart. So, let's see. I don't think. Let me see if I got that no gap EMA installed. I think I've got it. I'm not sure I actually got it installed. And shoot, no, I do not have it installed. So, all right, yeah, give me a moment here to get that indicator installed, guys. All right, so that EMA gapless can be found on Futures.io. And that's an awful long post, isn't it? There we go. And let's open up this indicator and see what we have. Okay, yeah, again, this is another ANA indicator from Fat Tails. So there we go. So it's under ANA. So EMAGapless. EMAGapless. And here we go. So yeah, that's right. The special thing about this EMA is it's going to work on a higher, or well, I should say work on a different time frame. So I think the period there, number of bars used, oh no, well, I'm not sure why this indicator is used. So, yeah, it was just a part of the question that I got here. So I thought this was going to automatically go on a 5-minute time frame, but it's not. Let's see. Of course, we could change the input series, but that only works on a chart. That won't work inside of Blackbird. Anyways, I'll just put it back to the default settings there of 14. And let's see. Well, instead of making it orange, make it red. All right. Let me turn the trend down a little bit here. All right. So our trailing stop loss there is on a no gap 10 EMA on, so here's the critical thing, on a 5-minute chart, less 1 bar. So yep, so this would require a special EMA that pulls the 5-minute chart data. So, right, NinjaTrader does not have built-in ability to put indicators on different time frames, and Blackbird doesn't have that capability either. So let's go into the trailing actions and let's just take a quick peek. So let's add a trailing rule. And so normally, if we had the right indicator, the way we could do this is we're going to move the stop loss order to, and we'll go in here, and our mode, instead of the price, we want to use an indicator value. And we go in here and select our indicator. Oops, and it's the ANA. There we go. And we want a 10 EMA. So I'll need to change the EMA on my chart to a 10 EMA, although it's not, you know, as you can see, there's no input thing here. So, right, NinjaTrader doesn't support that. So, and we would do a displacement of 1. So the displacement of 1, and I need to get back to my rules here. Let's pull this back out. So this part of the rule here that says less 1 bar, right? So I'm assuming that means that he's kind of looking 1 bar back. So he wants to get, you know, the value of the EMA, but 1 bar back, 1 bar previous, right? And so therefore, back in the action here, we'd use a displacement of 1. It's going to do the same thing. The displacement of 1 means you look 1 bar back, right? So, but yeah, but Blackbird is not going to have the capability to put your indicators on other time frames. So your indicator is going to have that capability built into it. All right. So yeah, so that part, again, you'll need the indicator to, let's see, you'll need the indicator to put itself on a 5-minute chart. I wonder if, yeah, I wonder, well, this might get you close. Since we're doing a 10 period on a 5-minute chart and Blackbird's running on a 1-minute chart, that's almost the same as a 50 period EMA. So it's going to get you close, but it's not going to be exactly the same. So we could up this to a 50 period EMA, and that'll get you in the ballpark, you know, but it's still not going to it's not going to be the same as a 10 period EMA on a 5-minute chart. Yeah, but that kind of gets us in the ballpark at least. And then our displacement, well, yeah, we need to up our displacement to 5. Yeah, up the displacement to 5. So 5, because it takes 5 1-minute bars to equal a 5-minute chart bar, right? We're on a 1-minute chart, so 5 1-minute bars equals 1 5-minute bar. So therefore, our displacement, we'll set that back to 5. And that'll get us a displacement of 5 minutes there, right? So that gets us in the ballpark there. And we don't know, yeah, the one thing we're missing is we don't know when this trailing rule starts. You know, we don't, Mike didn't include any kind of delay time or any kind of trigger that tells us when we start trailing. So I'll just have to leave that blank for now. And let's name this here. We'll just call it EMA trailing, or EMA trail. Just shorten it down to EMA trail, like so. And the repeat, yeah, the repeat would be, I'm assuming indefinitely, we'd want to repeat this on every bar. Right. actually, because we're kind of making adjustments for running the EMA on a 1 minute chart. We would repeat this, let's say, every 5 bars. Let's repeat this every 5 bars. So that would be the same as repeating it once every 5-minute bar. All right, so I'm gonna recreate that here for B, for order set B. I need to recreate that here. So EMA trail. So our action is we're gonna match an indicator value. So let's go in here, find that indicator. There it is, EMAGapless, and we're going to up it to a 50 period to kind of try and approximate a 5-minute chart, a 10 period on a 5-minute chart. All right, click OK. Our displacement, all right, we're on 5. And head. And our repeat, we'll set that to repeat every 5 bars. All right, so let me save that back to the file. So I think we've gone as far as we can do as far as setting up Blackbird. So remember that the trigger for this, let's see, the trigger for this would be this bar closing outside of our range, outside of our opening range. Actually, sorry, it would be this bar. Yeah, this bar here closed outside the range first, so that would put us in a uptrend, or that would put us, I'm sorry, in a long position. Not an uptrend, but that would put us in a long position there. Right, so the component that we're missing is the BloodHound signal that would look for that, right? And so we'll do this part tomorrow in tomorrow's workshop. We'll build the BloodHound signals for that. And as well, there's some other logic that is required for the stop loss. Yeah, for some stop loss decision making. Okay, so here is another part of the question that I didn't think could be answered because I didn't think that our opening range indicator had a midpoint. Yeah, so there's another decision that has to be made for the stop loss. So, so if our stop loss is greater than 4 points, 16 ticks, then we want the stop loss to use the opening range midpoint, the opening range midpoint. So, all right. And then if the stop loss is still greater than 16 ticks, then no trade. So we've got this part. Remember, we did this component earlier. So if our stop loss is greater than 16 ticks, then no trade. All right. So we've done that component already, which again is in the order safeguards here, right? we turned on this max stop loss distance in ticks. So we put 16. So if it's greater than 16, we're just going to skip the trade. And we did that for both. So we're going to skip the trade if the stop loss is greater than 16 ticks. So we've got this last rule, but the second rule here. So now that I know that we do have the opening range midpoint available to us, let's see, I'm not sure that can be done. That would probably, that's going to require the indicator to have that intelligence. Yeah, you're going to have to program, so the indicator that we're using to set our stop loss, right? So we're using the opening range indicator to place our stop loss. And so the indicator is going to have the intelligence of calculating whether the stop loss is going to be 16 ticks or more. Let's see. Yeah, so this component here will require the indicator to have that type of intelligence to decide, which stop loss, which indicator plot do we use for the stop loss. Yeah. So, for now, right, so for now we have our stop losses set to either the high of the range, or it's going to use the low of the range. So if you want, the capability to, use the midpoint of the range, which I think, kind of guessing that's the midpoint of the range. Yeah, so if you want to be able to switch between all these different price points for your stop loss, your indicator is going to have that intelligence. And the indicator will have to just tell Blackbird, you know what, use this price for your stop loss. So hold on, I'm going to try and make an adjustment here. There we go. Just wanted to turn off a couple extra lines there so we can just focus on the opening range. All right, I think that covers it for this question for now. So the missing components will take care of, which is really, let's see, the missing components is just going to be the trade signals. I believe it's just going to be the entry signal. It's the part we'll do tomorrow in tomorrow's BloodHound workshop. All right, so let's see, I've got a couple of questions here. Let's see, so is gapless EMA going to be used in tomorrow's BloodHound workshop? No. No, so that the EMA indicator was only being used for the trailing stop loss. Right, it was only being used for that. So BloodHound, no, there's no BloodHound component necessary for this, for that gapless EMA.